Welcome to Ebrix Gaming and Cards. In this series, we'll take a deep dive into various Magic the Gathering commanders to understand what makes them unique. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. If there is a specific commander you would like to see, please comment below. Arcades, the Strategist, is a 4 CMC Bant commander with Flying and Vigilance. Arcades also has two abilities. The first ability says, whenever a creature you control with Defender enters, draw a card. The second ability states, each creature you control with Defender assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and can attack as though it didn't have Defender. This means for this deck, we are going to play a lot of creatures with Defender. This gives us a value engine in two different ways. The first way is we can draw a card off the already inexpensive Defender creatures, and the second is those inexpensive creatures can do significant damage thanks to assigning combat damage based on their toughness. Our game plan will revolve around ramping to get our commander out on turn 3. We will then grow our board state and start attacking to put the pressure on our opponents. We will then finish the game with combat or by digging for an alternate win condition. The first combo we will look at is High Alert and Axebane Guardian. If you have 5 defenders on the battlefield, you can create infinite mana by generating 5 mana with Axebane Guardian and then untapping it with High Alert. The first payoff we will look at is Flickering Mnemonic Wall with one of our instant spells. When Mnemonic Wall ETBs, you can get your Flicker spell back at the beginning of the next end step. We can cast this every turn so we can get a lot of value with our commander on the battlefield. The second payoff is Coral Colony and Doorkeeper. Either of these can mill out our opponents, but I have decided not to include these due to mill not always being effective in commander, and some decks even benefiting from us milling them. The third payoff is an alternate win con that I already had in my collection, so this is completely optional. Approach of the Second Sun can put a clock on our opponents. With the draw power we have, that clock can be shortened significantly. We also add Reprieve and Remand to put it back in our hand instead of our deck. The last win condition is to help with a combat win. This card is Akroma's Will. It can give all our attackers flying and double strike, and it can also act as protection for all your creatures. This is the most expensive card in the deck, and is one of the cards you should be digging for. A timely remand on this can also lock away the game. With our commander and our core win conditions, we have a total of 11 cards. The next cards we're going to look at are high synergy cards and cards that help with pushing combat damage. The first 2 cards we will look at are Crashing Drawbridge and Sunscape Familiar. Crashing Drawbridge can give all your creatures haste, while Sunscape Familiar acts as a cost reducer for all green and blue spells. The next group of cards are Anthems. They are Stalwart Shield Bearers, Fecund Green Shell, and Assault Formation. Fecund Green Shell can also act as land ramp, while Assault Formation can act as a backup to your commander. If you like the combat strategy, then some more Anthem effects include Bar the Door, Solidarity, and Tower Defense. Since these effects only last 1 turn, we are only including one of them. Another way we can get damage on our opponents is to give our attackers trample with Towering Titan, or make our creatures unblockable with Sidar Kondo of Jamara, or Tetsuko Umezawa, Fugitive. The next way we can push through damage is by creating tokens and having more attackers than they have blockers. Wingmantle Chaplain can make 1/1 tokens with flying. Rama's Ekor, Ancient Shield, acts as a token generator and card advantage. Wall of Kelp also creates a wall token when you activate the tap ability, and when the token comes into play, you can draw a card off your commander's ability. The next cards we will look at are Tutors. There are 2 tutors that have Defender, and we will add both of them to our list now. Drift of Phantasms is a great beater with flying, but can also be transmuted into any one of our Flicker spells, Axebane Guardian, or High Alert. Shield Wall Sentinel can tutor for any of our defenders. The next block of cards we will look at is Card Advantage. Combined with the Card Advantage, our commander provides, and the previous cards mentioned, The additional cards will allow us to get through our deck to find the answers we need. The first 4 cards we will look at all have an ETB to draw a card. Combined with our commander, this allows us to get a body and 2 cards for 2 or 3 mana. These are also great targets for our flicker spells. These cards are Wall of Blossoms, Wall of Omens, Orator of Ohutai, and Carven Caryatid. For generic card advantage, we add Mentor of the Meek. Wall of Mulch can be situationally good, but it was cut to add more protection for our commander. If you want to add a filter strategy and use Wall of Mulch, you could add any one of the following 1 CMC defenders. I have excluded these because in lower and medium power games, there is already enough card advantage. Before we talk about our big walls and beaters, we are going to cover ramp and lands. The next group of cards we will look at is our ramp package. The first part of our ramp package are defenders. These will work to ramp and provide card draw if your commander is on the battlefield. They are Overgrown Battlement, Wall of Roots, Vine Trellis, and Ceruli Caretaker. Overgrown Battlement can produce a lot of green mana. Wall of Roots can produce a green mana, but it does not need to be tapped to do this. Vine Trellis is a generic mana dork, and Ceruli Caretaker can be played turn 1. If you want more ramp from defenders, you could also add Ulvenwald Captive or Sylvan Caryatid. I have excluded both of these, but might add Sylvan Caryatid back if I'm having trouble making my colors. Land ramp can help synergize with Fecund Greenshell. These include Cultivate, Kodama's Reach, Rampant Growth, and Farseek. 3 Visits and Nature's Lore are great if you are adding lands with multiple land types, but for this deck we have very few targets other than basic lands, and for that reason we are excluding them. Due to our budget and our game plan to cast our commander on turn 3, the Signets and Talisman are perfect and provide good color fixing. Our artifact ramp includes Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Azorius Signet, Simic Signet, Selesnya Signet, Talisman of Curiosity, Talisman of Unity, and Talisman of Progress. Ramp and lands go together. With 30 lands and our ramp, we have a total of 47 mana sources if we include Axebane Guardian. The first lands we're looking at can all color fix in some way. These are Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Tranquil Landscape, Bant Panorama, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, and Broker's Hideout. The next 2 lands have 2 basic land types and can be found with Farseek. They are Prairie Stream and Canopy Vista. The next 3 lands are Pain lands, and they are Yavimaya Coast, Brushland, and Adarkar Wastes. The next 3 lands are Check lands, and they are Glacial Fortress, Sunpetal Grove, and Hinterland Harbor. We will finish off our lands with 8 forests, 4 plains, and 3 islands. This gives us a total of 30 lands. Now we will look at some combat-specific defenders. Towering Viewpoint can give other creatures flying, Suspicious Bookshelf can allow another creature to sneak in for damage, and Riptide Turtle can be flashed in to catch your opponents off guard. The Pride of Hulklade can be a huge source of damage, while Cherix, the Raging Isle, requires High Alert or Assault formation because it does not have Defender. Hover Barrier, Wall of Denial, and Wall of Shards all have flying to help do damage. Wall of Ice, Wall of Junk, Fortified Rampart, and Wall of Tanglecord are all generic walls with high toughness. 2 notable exclusions are Wall of Air and Shield Sphere. We now have a total of 12 slots left, and these will be used for removal and protection. The first 3 cards we're going to look at can all act as one-sided board wipes. They are Slaughter the Strong, Expel the Interlopers, and Dusk Dawn. The next 2 cards can lock down an opponent's creature. They are Imprisoned in the Moon and Wall of Stolen Identity. For protection, we have Jeskai Barricade, Resolute Watchdog, and Soul Sworn Jury. For instance, we have Counterspell, Tamio's Safekeeping, and Overprotect. The last piece of protection is a Stax piece, Meekstone. Arcades, the Strategist, will only get better with time, as new defenders are printed all the time. If you are in a meta with lots of removal, it might be worth swapping out a few cards. Otherwise, the goal is to get the few protection cards with our card draw. If you have made it this far, thanks for listening, And remember, this series is not only for understanding your commander, but also about knowing your enemy's commander. If you would like me to dive deep into a specific commander, please comment below.